so good morning to you, and thank you once again for joining us here on New Day. It's Friday, 10th November. Indeed, it's a blessed day for us here. I don't know about you, but the fact that you're alive, you can see, you can hear, you can speak, that alone means you have a lot to be grateful to God for. Of course, it's Friday, it's a freaky one, it's a funky one, it's a fun Friday. It's to prepare you for the weekend. That's Saturday, Sunday, and then you go back to Monday where you see the team again. But it's not only me. I've got Johnny, Bright, and Solis Rose Corte here this morning. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are we?
Charlie, alive and well. Excited about the weekend.
Nice. At least it wasn't a rainy.
Yeah,
I hope it didn't rain. Yeah,
we are back on track.
Yeah.
We went off track yesterday. We're back this morning on track to get you into a very good mood. It's a Friday, like Amma said, and you know why Fridays are so exciting in this part of the world, because you got some time to take a rest and take a look back at what you did in the course of the week, and then have some fun and get ready for next week. It's not too exciting because, you know, at this time of the month, the packet starts getting dry. But I know God is up there. He will listen. Just tell him that oh, this is what I need. And he will listen to you. Good morning, Ghana. Good morning, Africa. And good morning to the world. It's a wonderful show we're promising today from now to 9 a.m. And we'll let you know what's up this morning. Johnny.
Of course, I mean, and it's, we're told that God is an old Tom.
Okay. So I hear the homecoming is this weekend.
We've got a few noisy old Toms around here. But later in the show, they will come up. We'll have a special conversation with them, you know, as to what old boys and old girls can possibly do to help their schools and what the influence and impact actually is on the schools. And then we're also talking about GMB 2017, the grand finale, 19th November.
The
finalists will be here. Yes, I mean, Charlie, one of them will be driving a Kia Sportage.
This is the best time to be get closer to one of them.
Befriend
the thing is, you see the car every day, you're like,
who's we taking that way?
And then it's not just as if it's just a car. It's some trips to Dubai as well, and some 12,000 Ghana cedis. And
they are all my best friends. So
but you see why you should have gone for the chaperone job.
Which of the Dubai? The Jirapa Dubai?
No, Circle Dubai, proper Dubai, where you travel, like you go to the airport and sit in the plane and go out. Anyway.
So all of that package coming up at you, plus daily rant as well. We'll be asking the big fat question, whether we're just paying lip service to vigilantism or, you know, we're doing one of those cricum things.
I was asking.
Yeah, you have to ask.
Well,
Charlie Solis.
People are beating us every day.
Right, have you seen Solis's overcoat?
No, that's okay. You know,
I was trying to just get away with that very
you see,
nice.
The president is pulling a lot of people along, and I am excited about it. The African stuff, the textile, the local textile is really doing well.
Thank you.
And when you see the ladies, it looks so nice on them. So ladies look
Charlie, but this shoe would have been nice with the socks. So.
Why?
Really, Johnny? You just have to talk about my shoes, right?
So, the president is on a tour of the Greater Accra region. Look at the photograph on the Ghanaian Times this morning, the African print. I'm trying hard to get
But
the
I mean, they keep using this particular picture because every time, I know the president changes his clothes, so they should kindly get fresh ones of him to show the changing trends.
You know, back in the day, the GTP materials had names.
Yeah,
they still do.
They still do.
Yes.
So
today I was going to ask you if you knew what the name was.
What do you have? What's the name of what you
this
have?
is not GTP, though. It's a particular brand, but I know the name is somewhere on the edge. I'll look for it and tell
All I know is
you.
this is high target.
It's a high target. But what is it called? The design has a name.
Our folks in the villages have all the names.
They do very well. They can tell you the name right.
A couple of them. They're very excited when they tell you about the story behind how they were named.
Yes.
Quite excited.
I think most of them come out with their Dunkas symbols as well.
The president is carrying people along. I'm just praying that we'll all get to grab the idea that let us wear the local textile. It's an industry that is collapsing completely. And it is not because what they produce is not being used. It is because there is so much imports that they are unable to import.
But you see, Senior Bright, aside that as well, you remember that even the kente that we have fake kente.
Yes.
And, you know, they're just patterns. And most of them from China, from other countries. For as long as we're promoting following the president to promote GTPM, Printex, and all the other local prints. We must make sure that we don't get them producing these things from outside and bringing them in. You know, because when you go onto the market, those ones are actually a bit cheaper than and the quality is not what it. But people would want to go and buy them.
I am telling you that. Look, if we're able to prop up our textile industry, okay, all this one district, one factory will be of no use. Look, I remember very well, if you traveled on that stretch, Juapong to Ankosumbo, look, very exciting things that when the two textile factories were working. It was such a nice place because people had money and the economy there was booming. But hey, today has gone back.
Anyway, Solis has all the GTP wearing. So she's got the news as well.
I do have the news from the world of business, also some health news, education, and of course the weather. Many thanks for staying with us. This is Morning News on TV3. Let's move on to our first story. And let's start from the health sector, where a lot more young girls are engaged in unsafe abortion. In 2016 alone, 9,612 cases of unsafe abortion were recorded. Although efforts are ongoing to curb the situation, experts want education on family planning to be intensified.
Unsafe abortion is still a major cause of death, especially among young women. According to the latest WHO estimates, 25 million of all abortions that occurred every year worldwide between 2010 to 2014 were unsafe. The majority, that's 97% of unsafe abortions, occurred in developing countries like Ghana. It is estimated one woman dies from unsafe illegal abortion every 7 minutes. A senior specialist obstetrician of the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, Dr. Fred Pobi, noted the complication poses danger for the health of such girls.
If the patient is unfortunate, we may have to, depending on how bad it is, we may have to take out the uterus. So then the patient ends up with the uterus being taken out. And if it's a very young patient who has not delivered before, then you can just imagine.
Dr. Pobi suggests a lot more education on family planning efforts can help minimize the practice.
More public health education is done. I think it will go a long way because a lot of them don't know. The issue of family planning is also something that has to be, people have to be educated on family planning.
Abigail Ogumro York is a service provider at PPHE. Her facility has over the years given planning services and counseling and is worried about the increasing speed.
We have young women coming in, and it is because, you know, these abortion tablets, they are on the market. They sell them in the marketplace, in the chemical shops and all that. So they go there, they take the pill, and then maybe they start bleeding, and then they come. But when they come, we take them through counseling, and then we help them do the safe abortion for them.
Although the PPAG is at the forefront of education, she called for collaborative efforts to curb the rising numbers of young girls dying from unsafe abortion.
So we are still giving the information that if we are able to do it, if we can help ourselves, maybe the parents are being part of it, pastors, imams, opinion leaders, we all come together. I think it might be faster in reducing all this.
IPAS Ghana Youth Advisory Board, also a reproductive health services advocacy organization, says government must increase access to safe abortion care and comprehensive contraceptive services.
Now, away from that, there is a particular sculpted product the user does not see and the maker does not want, but often subjected to stigma. Well, Stanley Nibleu spent a day with a casket maker, Theophilus Ni Enum Soa, who laments constant stigma is pushing people away from the profession.
In Ghana, there are several professions. Key amongst them is the carpentry work, which casket making is a part. Casket makers face stigma because of the nature of their work. Irrespective of the weirdness of what they do, it still serves as a source of livelihood for most of them. Casket making is an integral part of the journey of life. Statistics of people engaged in casket making is currently not available, but it is believed that many people globally take on this job opportunity daily. For many carpenters, their livelihood is dependent on this profession. Theophilus Ni Anumsoa, a father of 5, operates the Ni Fantastic Sculpture Shop at 30.5 in the Greater Accra region. He has been making caskets for the past 31 years and now has 4 apprentices. His handicrafts include both traditional and Vogue caskets. He receives orders from the nooks and crannies of the country without relenting on serving his clients. The Vogue caskets are carefully designed to depict one's profession, and these include camera, football boots, dragon, fish, Bible, wild creatures, among other skillfully designed sculptured works. Casket making does not come easily. In such an open market, competition among casket makers is very intense. Unlike carpenters who are into furniture making, casket makers affirm they resort to the acquisition of black magic for protection.
It is of a truth that nobody does this work without consulting any sort of medium. And so some of my colleagues end up marrying fetish priestesses and all that because the work itself demands that.
He was pushed into the profession by his late father, but he has no regrets taking on the job. In most African countries, it is perceived that the casket that one is buried with determines his wealth and social class.
One with a weird character, they choose lion. One who is associated with fishing goes with something that relates to seagoing. In other words, if you are a farmer, you go with something related to farming.
Casket making, however, is not an option for many people who want to take on a technical profession due to the alleged spiritual attack associated with it. Bonyoadeka, as it is called by the Gans, is an essential item needed, especially when performing traditional African funeral rites. But those who make these products are often stigmatized in society. Every profession deserves equal respect. Stanley Nibleu, TV3 News, 30.5.
And away from that, organized labor is to drag the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, SNIT, to the Supreme Court from next week for interpretation on why its formula has shortchanged Ghanaian workers. Now, according to labor, its investigations reveal that some pensioners lost more than 20 to 28,000 Ghana cedis of their benefits after retirement due to wrongful calculations by SNIT.
According to Labour, SNIT uses annuity factor to calculate contributions which most pensioners don't understand. The aggrieved persons sought the assistance of Labour to recalculate for them, while others have ignored the calculations. Already, some have lost more than 28,000 cedis on their benefits, thus reducing their pension contributions. Labour has petitioned SNIT to explain but is yet to respond. It has agreed to consider a legal action.
We are just going to court for interpretation. It is not that we are taking SNIT to court or anything. We want the law to be interpreted properly so that we understand it. If you have to go to court, what is wrong? We will go to court to make sure that we understand what SNIT is doing. If what SNIT is doing in some cases is not right, they will stop because the court will have now interpreted it better for all of us.
Meanwhile, Organized Labour and the NPRA have convened a meeting to discuss the amount in a temporary pension fund account, TPFA. As of September 30, 2017, the TPFA had accrued 8.4 billion cedis for both private and public sector contributions, representing 4.2%. Out of the amount, private sector contributions amounted to more than 500 million cedis, while more than 200 million cedis had been transferred. By November 2, 2017, the TPFA had again accrued 2.9 billion cedis of public sector contributions, but yet to be transferred. Deputy Minister of Employment and Labour Relations, Bright Rokubrobi, said the transfers would be done by the end of this month.
Sitting down and talking to Labour, we have even realized that it's only 12 months in arrears. All these have been calculated and the money will be transferred.
At the end of this month?
Sure. Take it that we are working so hard to get it transferred by end of month.
Chief Executive for MPR Hereford Atakrofi assured of a smooth transfer to the registered schemes.
The process is far advanced for the transfer to be done. So I will entreat organized labor to repose their confidence in us and to work with us collectively so that we can all effect the transfer of the money to the various schemes.
Now, the former Lands Minister Inusah Hussaini says he is yet to be contacted by National Security 5 months after admitting he intentionally bugged his office to monitor conversations. In July this year, the Lands Minister John Peter Amewu uncovered a recording device planted to monitor happenings in his office. Inusah Hussaini later owned up as being behind the device. He spoke to Komla Kluche.
Have you been invited by?
No, I've not been invited yet. I've not been invited yet.
Have you made a contact?
I don't need to make any contact with anybody. I don't need to. I'm here. I'm available. And if they need me, they just invite me. I'm prepared. I can tell you on this matter, I've always said there was no aforethought bad intention. The thing never even worked. It never even recorded a pin. It was never activated. I regret, though, seriously, having left it in the office because to all intents and purposes, it was useless. This hula baloo, why did I own up? I own up because I thought that people would suffer vicariously for my act, and I should own up and face the consequences myself. And that's why I did it out of my belief that I need to take responsibility for my own
Nobody
act.
else contacted you, sir?
Nobody contacted me. I just read it and I said, no, I should talk about this.
Now, the police administration has begun piloting complete digitization of criminal investigations in 26 police stations within Accra and Tema. The FBI certified system installed at the Criminal Data Service and Verification Bureau at the CID headquarters will enable top hierarchy officers to electronically track and monitor progress of all investigations from Accra.
The emergence of advanced telecommunication technologies has moved the Commission of Crime a notch higher, requiring a smarter investigator. The sophisticated nature of crime again demands the use of technological skills and faster approach to investigations. And in line with the police transformational agenda, the police CID has engaged in the procurement of tested technologies and the training of personnel to meet the growing demand. The latest is the upgrading of the fingerprint center that has all fingerprints from 1957 already captured digitally. Again, investigators from 26 selected police stations within Accra and Tema region have been trained towards piloting complete digitization of criminal investigations.
This means that at headquarters here, the IGP will sit in his office and know what is happening at East Legon Police Station. He can know how the case is being managed, and he can also give direction as far as crime investigation is concerned.
Additionally, all crime officers from the headquarters through the regional commands to the district officers are being exposed to effective investigative techniques and the transformational agenda.
One of the key indices to rate your performance is how you treat persons who deserve your attention. Respect for human rights, especially that of suspects.
The training was to also help the crime officers understand best practices and how the Attorney General's Department operates for enhanced prosecution.
You have to first of all investigate the case well before you come to the conclusion that we don't have enough evidence. Of course, if we don't have enough evidence, when it comes to the Attorney General, we will say so, that we don't have enough evidence. But if the evidence is there, let's get it so that we'll be able to do a good job.
The Inspector General of Police, David Asantia Pietu, urged the personnel to be more responsive, adaptable, and extra professional to help prevent and curb crime.
Now let's head over to the Volta region, where residents of Nkonya have renewed calls for the lifting of the curfew imposed on Nkonya and Alavanyo. They contend imposition of night curfew is a misjudgment since the criminal killings are perpetrated in broad daylight. Meanwhile, the military have arrested 7 young men from Nkonya Tai for alleged violation of curfew hours on Monday, November 6.
The Ministry of the Interior has, upon the advice of the Volta Regional Security Council, reviewed the curfew hours for Alavanyo and Nkonya townships effective Sunday, October 22, 2017. The area, which previously observed curfew hours from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m., are now staying indoors from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. The tightening of the curfew hours, the chiefs and people contended, is regrettable.
There has not been any gunshots in our area. So reviewing the curfew from 8 p.m. to 6 p.m. down to 6 a.m., that is very unbearable. And I don't know how this has come about. Even places in Ghana here where guns are being shot right now, they have not been given that strict curfew.
A teacher at the Nkonya Senior High School, Theophilus Aganu, wondered the rationale for a dusk to dawn curfew in an area where crimes were being committed in the day.
This curfew has rather killed us than helped us. It is not the curfew that will solve the Alavanyo-Nkonya situation. The curfew has been around, people have been killed in the bush, in the forest, but the people indirectly are punished. I think the government should take a second look at this curfew.
Also of concern is an alleged abuse by the security details. Residents accuse the military personnel of excesses and taking advantage of the situation.
So to confirm it, some boys were arrested and were taken down to KJB before they were left to go home. So we don't know if it is out of hatred for something we do not yet know.
Maybe it could be a personal hatred somewhere. A soldier might have had maybe a misunderstanding with a young man in the village. It could be through maybe finding girls or otherwise.
Addressing the Volta Regional Peace Council, an opinion leader from Nkonya Tai, Joseph Adai Bosman, threatened positive defiance if steps are not taken to check the human rights abuse.
With so many boys they are arrested, they should refrain. If they refuse, we shall not be happy.
The Alavanyo and Nkonya traditional areas have been in curfew since April this year, following the ambushing of some palm wine tappers from Nkonya Ahinkro. 6 lives were lost after that incident, 3 each from the 2 traditional areas.
And now, the Electrical Dealers Association of Ghana has donated streetlight bulbs towards 3FM and Onua FM's Let There Be Light campaign. The initiative is a developmental project by both radio stations aimed at getting streets in Accra lighted.
The donation comes on the back of discussions on morning shows of both 3FM and Onua FM, where some major streets have come under discussion for having been without a proper lighting system for years. The Tema Motorway, Tema Aflao, Lavender Hill, Ashiye Dodowa and GIJ Police Headquarters streets came under special mention since the non-availability of street lights on these roads have resulted in attacks. Following discussions on the 2 stations, the Electrical Dealers Association has intervened to support the campaign with 40 streetlight bulbs. Speaking at the donation ceremony at the premises of MG Radio, a member of the association, Teddy Amwa, said the association is committed to contributing towards Ghana's development.
We, the Electrical Dealers Association, we are ever ready any time to support any project that we develop Ghana. We are going to do more than this. So we want all other electrical dealers to support this project. It's a good cause.
The head of news of MG Radio, Abraham Asari, expressed gratitude to the association, calling on other corporate organizations to get on board in restoring lights on the streets. He added his outfit is focused on seeing this campaign to a successful end through the help of other well-meaning Ghanaians.
We are also very much concerned about the things that happen in our communities. We are also part of the community. We are a radio station, we are a media house, but we're also part of the community. We also use our streets. So this project is to ensure that these challenges are reversed.
And now for the weather updates for the next few hours.
The weather report is brought to you by
All right, that's all for morning news here on TV3. I am Solace Rose Quarter. New Day returns with more from Johnny Bright and Nanama. Good morning and enjoy your weekend.
Come back. So at this point, you know it's time for headlines. We'll start off with a find-out, which says full cost recovery critical to address challenges facing thermal power generation. There's an insert of the MD of Telegana, Mr. Charles Darko. Also, CID to digitize criminal investigations. That's coming from DG. Then the colleges of education still closed as talks over arrears fail. Guide to the 19.5% debts Ghana can't get yield hunters to buy. So there's a guide to the 19.5% debts Ghana can't get yield hunters to buy. Okay. Then UK's trade envoy in Ghana to explore oil and gas opportunities there on page 5 of the finder. So these are the headlines. Well, of course, full cost recovery is certainly critical in a time where we need, you know, value for money. And of course, we've been talking about how to get our monies addressed properly because we have issues, big issues with power generation, thermal power. We have the energy bond where there's so much controversy over, but we just have to come together as a nation and decide which way we want to go in recovering our, you know, costs. Definitely. That is critical.
The way and manner in which we're handling issues of energy and power and oil, and
it's like a joke, isn't it?
It's not going very well. We seem to be toying with it. We have all the experts, we have all the knowledge, we have the capacity, but we get very little for it. And I know Mr. Daku, you know, on a personal note. I think that we need to wake up and shake up, really. I see very little of the energy minister these days. I hear very little of him. And it's become worrying because if you look at the vim and verve with which he went, you know, to the vetting committee, appointments committee, and what we see these days, it doesn't, anyway, but these are just my troubles.
Like you said, we keep swinging from one end to the other about exactly what to do with energy. I mean, Mr. Darko is talking about full cost recovery critical. Now, you go to certain quarters and the talk is that energy is too expensive, so let's try and reduce it. But how do you reduce it? In the past, what government had done was to go into subsidizing, and it had led us into the debt that we are struggling now to to get off our books. So indeed it is critical, but at what point can the consumer agree that indeed there's the need for full recovery? Today, I think every Ghanaian is sitting down and listening and waiting for Mr. Kenufo-Wiatta, because there's a promise that in the 2018 budget, electricity tariffs would go down. What does it mean for the tariffs going down in the 2018 budget? Does it mean that GRIDCO, ECG, and VRA would also have to do some adjustments? Who pays for that adjustment? Is it government again going in to subsidize? So the whole issue is a bit, for me, dicey. Like Johnny said, the energy minister was seen as someone with all the magic wand to deal with the energy sector issues. So we're waiting to see what happens. He is talking about full cost recovery. Let's wait for Mr. Kenufo-Wiatta's budget next week, and then perhaps we can see how exactly that the reduction is going to be done. Is government going to show that responsibility, or there's a way out to reduce tariffs? If it is reduced, what does it mean to GRIDCO talking about making sure that full cost recovery?
You know that in the run-up to the 2016 election, there was some 300 million that was released for to subsidize energy and bills, so utility bills, so we don't feel that.
When there were complaints that bills were that high.
We don't know. We have not been told whether that money is run out, and so the subsidies will not come anymore. What point it will end? Add to that, you also know that we were told by the energy minister now at the vetting table that it is not a problem of generation, but it's a problem of funding. And then his expertise, his expertise of having worked with the American bank and all of that, being able to get those loans, were brought on board. As we speak, we don't have it. The energy sector levies are still there. We've only been able to reduce it by some 2% or some 2.5%. So the bigger problems that we complained about, that Ghana said, well, these are issues, that the energy minister and other ministers says is, we still have them there, glaringly. And we have had people, some other professionals say, all the conditionalities that brought about Dumso are still there. We are only painting and brushing and patching it up. Exactly. So we have the problem, and then we're just
going around
it, hoping that yes, one day heaven will smile on us. It doesn't work like that.
But I keep, from a layman's point of view, my question or my worry is why we keep assuming that, or government seems to be in a position to assume that Ghanaians wouldn't understand if they didn't have to subsidize or reduce tariffs. Because for me, at this point where we have these ever-growing debts, my worry is, could we get to a point where they explain to Ghanaians why at some point they really have to pay what we pay as it is? And if we understand that, and we know, you give us a map to say that if we pay this amount for 2-3 years, in the next 4 years you can have reliefs, because then we'd have sorted out all the debts. But obviously they don't seem to be accountable for the monies we even pay now. That's why they have this challenge of having to go around back and forth.
This argument has come up so many times, and that's what we had, what we call the legacy debt. Okay, that we are paying, and the sad thing is that we don't even know what we're paying for, and how much we're paying, how long we're paying it, and all of those issues. Add to that, we have been told by so many energy ministers, including Mr. Boachijaku, that we need to pay realistic prices for whatever energy we consume. But nobody is able to determine and tell us what the realistic prices is, and if we are paying it, how long we are going to be paying it, what your question. I mean, if you say, for example, that we all should contribute for lunch, and you can't tell us whether I should contribute 10 cedis, 20 cedis, 10 cedis. Yes, we should contribute.
What we're going to buy.
What we're going to buy, what we're going to eat, who is going to prepare the food, how many mouths is going to feed, and all of that. Then it's a total waste of time. So until we stop playing politics, NDC comes, they say one thing, MPP comes, they say one thing. And usually, you listen, ahead of the 2020 election, because NDC is in opposition, you will hear the song the NDC will sing. Now, you know that right after the election, the NDC came back and says Dumso is back and the things are worse. But ahead of the 2016 election, it was the same NDC that was telling us that we have fixed Dumso, everything is running optimally and all of that. And MPP was singing the other song. 2020, you see, they will sing the same song, but MPP will be singing tenor and NDC will be singing alto. They are making a complete mess and fool out of us. And we are watching them. We are watching them.
Let's hope we get a harmony when one sings alto and the other sings.
But if you sing just alto and tenor, where would the bass and soprano be?
Certainly. I mean, they have to look at it because it's very worrying.
All right.
But anyway. Let's do Ghanaian Times now. IGP charges personnel to detect, prevent crime. Also, relatives of slain DCE cry for justice. Then Kumasi police gunned down 2 armed robbers as the president also says the economy is ready to take off. I don't know, the economy taking off.
Is ready to take off.
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, I mean, if any, you know that economic watchers and experts have said that the budget that Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta read, usually if you have the problem we have as a nation, you're supposed to first try and fix the economy before you move on, you propel it. But the budget that Mr. Ofori-Atta read earlier this year sought to do both things at the same time. And many economic watchers say, well, that's not the right way to go. But the government insists that, well, it could get them to do what they want to do. Now, 10 months down the line, we are being told now that the economy is ready to take off. So I don't see, there seems to be a lacuna that nobody is explaining to us what it is. We are told that we will have a supplementary budget. Yes, but I don't know. Next week, by Wednesday, we will know whether we have a supplementary budget or we won't have and all of that. But if we say that the economy is now ready to take off, so all the while, was it just the preparatory stage? And if it takes off, what happens?
Johnny, my worry isn't the fact that whether there was a preparatory stage or the economy is ready to take off. But my worry had to do with the fact that if we could go back and gather, let's say, the Ghanaian Times or the Daily Graphic for the past 20 years, I think we can get headlines reading same from 92 since today. Yes, I'm telling you. I have seen this headline several times on some newspapers. And under every government, there is a takeoff of the economy. And so, like Johnny asked, what happens? How come one economy, it takes off in 1992, I don't know whether it crashes or it dies or it goes into coma or
it's the fuel.
what?
It's the fuel.
So the fuel
There's
gets
shortage
finished,
in the air.
and then it collapses. Then another year, it takes off again, and it goes, and it is so sad. So sad. I have always said that you take a look at every government since 92. When Mr. Rawlings was leaving office, the economy was in coma. President Kufuor came, managed to stabilize it, and then the economy took off. It collapsed again when Mr. Kufuor left office. Professor Mills took it, managed to stabilize the economy. President Mahama came in, the economy collapsed again. Today, the economy is ready to take off. I am telling you that market on the world, in the next 8, 16, 20 years, this same economy that is taking off today will do another takeoff. So what kind of takeoff is it?
It's a return trip. It's a return trip.
What kind of takeoff? We're able to take off nicely, and then it is destroyed in somewhere, and then we'll go back to the beginning. I would love to see the economy moving from the takeoff to something else. It is not the takeoff. The takeoffs are too many.
But Senior Bright, you see,
too many.
Until we stop playing politics with the whole thing, I have always said that we don't have a blueprint as a country. So I become president. You become president. Amma becomes president. When I become president, like what's happening now, the free SHS policy, we are told that Parliament is now ready to receive what the documentations and the policy. So if the NDC comes and they feel that, well, it has to be progressively free and not instantaneously free, then we will have to re-engineer it. It is the politician's dream and the taxpayer's burden. Mind you, if you are investing money into areas that you are not so sure of, you are wasting the money. There are so many projects. Look at this affordable housing project. Look at so many other things that we do. we just toss money away and we don't seem to care. Yeah. So if you have scanty resources, common sense will tell you, you have 10 cities and you want to go from here to Circle and come back. And you want to first pick a taxi from TV3, which is 8 cities, go there, and you're not sure how much the trotro will charge when you're coming back. How do you get back?
So you don't even take the taxi.
So it doesn't make any sense at all.
I'm praying.
But we just
Johnny,
do it because it's flamboyance.
I'm praying.
Let's do it.
The last time I heard cabinet had agreed to the fiscal discipline law.
Right.
Something.
Yes.
A bill to ensure that governments don't spend.
Yeah, if you spend 2.5 and 5%.
Yes, we were questioning if there are sanctions. I am praying that whatever it is, this government doesn't get to overspend.
Right, there are no sanctions.
That's the point. No, but let us pray that.
So it's just the law that says don't spend more than 5%, but there are no sanctions. And what is the essence of a law that has no sanctions?
Well, but it's time to rant. And we're talking about vigilantism. Are we only paying lip service, or are we doing anything actively to stop this? Let's hear what George and the ranters have for us this morning.
We are privy to some actions of vigilante groups across the country, which obviously are sad. And we have the latest riot during the Adan East elections by invisible forces. And the president has come out to say he won't turn a blind eye to vigilante groups. And security expert Dr. Kwesi Eni wants us to engage the military in order to deal with this menace ruthlessly. And also Kodeo wants the independence of the IGP, a way to curb this whole menace. But what is the way forward in dealing with vigilantism in the country? This is Daily Rant. Let's keep talking.
Frankly, yes, this is not an issue that I think is good for the nation. It causes internal insecurity, and the way it's, up here and there, it's obvious that externally it's obviously going to paint a bad picture about the country also. But Ghana, over the period, we know obviously has been a very peaceful country, and as much as we want to maintain our peace, we are not going to be tolerating acts and deeds like these. However, frankly, prior to elections, we had a lot of stuff like this. Post-elections, we are hearing a lot of issues of this. Frankly, I am not in a position to be able to say vehemently or speak firmly to the fact that these things are really happening on the ground. Because there have been a whole lot of issues. They say something happened in
Do you want me to give you an instance? Recent one. At the East elections, they were there to, carry the ballot boxes.
That is fine. That is fine. That's what I'm saying.
Recent.
No, that's the very recent one. But there have been other ones that we've heard that some vigilante group have gone to push some particular public servant out of his office here and there and all that. And sometimes, me, I'm not there. And because I'm not there, I can only rely on the media's report, the media report, to be able to make any firm conclusion on it. So I think that they should look into it in a way. Yes.
See, honestly, this is a very serious matter, because when at a point where in just less than 1 year in government, clearly it's all about every single man there's one violence. If it's not Kadaha boys, it's Karaga boys. If it's not party royals, it's invisible forces. If it's not invisible forces, Delta forces. Look, it's either one village, one attack, or one district, one violence. One district, one violence, or one region, one visible force. Look, let's be very honest to ourselves. Look, it started from even the attack from the ASB Nankabusa Flagstaff House, right? Remember when they handed over, when they were handing over that day, when they attacked ASB Nankabusa, we did not even see the. No, I'm not being political. Look, over 20 invisible, over 20 victims. No, you had your time. You had your time. When you're talking, I didn't talk. When you're talking, I didn't talk. When you're talking, I didn't talk. So no.
Vigilantism has been
over 20.
So we are not going to pretend pretend that it started only when the NDC came into power. We are not going to pretend. When the NDC came into power in the year 2008,
we should also think that we just started.
Hold on.
Any MPP communicator who gets up to defend this only shows a level of low depth and gravitas. Over 20 violent attacks in just less than 1 year of this government. So every single
is it the first time it's happening?
No,
that is what he thinks.
Hold on. January 9th, police at Flagstaff House was assaulted.
Wonderful.
January 10th, MPP youth locked up anytime. I think we are not. January 13th, MPP chairman arrested over illegal. January 13th, arrested for seizing method. January 14th, MPP take over the toilet in Kofodia. January February 22nd, MPP hold on. We don't have time. Even the number and not this right. He even connived with the NPP to seize water to the
We have a person who is saying he will not turn a blind eye to
he made a comment. Hold on. He said the same thing in Kumasi. And as soon as he left, it happened again.
What I actually think, it's hypocrisy on the part of the government. It was on these same grounds we spoke on the Delta Force issue, and I told you, if you remember, I told you it will happen again. Ghana and phobia. Isn't it funny? We are here and we want it to look like Nana Akufo-Addo came in power and he actually solved the issue of vigilante groups and things. That isn't how it should be. It should be a regulation. In Ghana, we don't do this. We don't say when Nana Akufo-Addo was in power, he actually did this. No, in Ghana, we don't do this. If you cross it, you are punished. We were here. This Kumasi incident happened, and it has been treated in court as a foolish case. In order to deal with this vigilantism ruthlessly, Cornelio says the IGP should be independent. It means that there should not be political appointment of IGP. And that's kind of happening. And I think it might, in a way.
This is why we can't take politics out of this issue. You see, the thing is simple. Even if you are being elected based on political grounds, that doesn't mean your job should be biased towards a political party. It should actually be based on the interests of the nation or the country at large. It is simple. These people are doing things that are contrary to the constitution of the nation. So why are you sitting there and allowing them to mess up?
We are more interested in the way forward as to how we are going to be able to resolve this issue. And all of us obviously want to take the president for his word. You understand? Even I am very interested in taking him for his word. I'm very interested in seeing him act. And obviously he's not going to be the one to act, but he has to ask the IGP, all right, and the Interior Minister, as well as the Commander in charge of operations and the likes, to be able to start acting ASAP. Okay? Frankly, as citizens, I don't think we should be interested in the history of vigilantism, because if we want to go into it, there is just going to be a score of equity. Because we will find some in 2008, we will find some in 2000, we are going to find it in 2012, and we are going to find it in 2017. We don't want to go back into that history.
Let's come to this. Don't you think we should engage the military men in this?
Hold on. The police said they don't have the men to fight. They even said that they cannot fight it because of political interference. And I know. You see, look. The president should stop his lip service. He should stop his lip service and ensure. The president must stop his lip service and ensure he arrests every single member. In Kumasi, he said, as soon as he left,
if you talk about arrest, I know the Interior Minister says some arrests have been made.
And the police said that because of political interference, they have been freed. You see, and they even said that look, they don't even have the men. Even in the courts, right? The court could not even jail them because they indirectly, according to the member of the Vigilante group, they were made to know that they will be freed. And they will pay taxes.
My issue is, what is wrong is wrong. What is right is right. Currently, it is the MPP government or Nana Akufo-Addo heading the nation. So you don't expect me to say something happened in 2005, so we should justify make equalization. When a solution is given, it will transcend in every, let's say, let's get the way forward.
He said same in Kumasi, and the vigilante groups engage in violence. So it's not about lip service. It's not about lip service.
You know, in the Constitution, we have rules that states that these things should be punished. So why are we not implementing it? You can't tell me in the Constitution nothing states against these illegalities these boys are doing. But we are here. We are actually praising it because the government tells us he's going to solve it. He's going to solve it, and nothing happens. And you want me to keep the government's word?
Bruce pointed that someone like Sly would say that we are praising vigilantism. You understand? Because the truth of the matter is that I don't think there is anybody in his rational senses who is going to support violence. Nobody's going to support violence. Especially in the very same country that you and I are living in. Who is going to be doing that?
The thing has become more like with vigilantism, we just condemn it, but that is not enough to tackle this.
Yes. So the president to stop the lip service and ensure the president to stop the lip service and ensure that they are arrested.
But that thing that happened in Kumasi won't happen again, and it has happened again. So why should we take the president's word?
You must talk. That yes, lip service is not enough.
Have you heard that proverb before? Have you heard that proverb before?
I asked this question.
The president should go around and do arrest, right?
We are just trying to find out. We are finding ways to solve this whole menace because obviously it's too bad. And it's like we're all being political about this.
And I'm telling you that the president must stop his lip service and ensure that he arrests every single person who was engaged in violent activities. Arrest them. You can't arrest them already. You are engaged in lip
service.
service.
I'm just going to restate, or I'm going to make emphasis. All right. The truth of the matter is that yes, there is vigilantism ongoing. Okay, but of course, you and I over here can only be good citizens to report to the police.
You must walk your talk.
However, we are
he must walk his talk.
These are the views coming from the public, and you watching home can also partake in this discussion. Vigilantism, of course, is something that everybody is not really happy about. So let's know what you think about it. How well you deal with it. Just send us a comment on our social media platforms on Facebook, there's news on TV3, and on Twitter, there's news TV3. Thank you.
The Daily Guide gets the chance to start the morning's conversation. It says as blows over NDC unity walk, photographs of some NDC members and the former president here. Daily Graphic says work on sea defense project stalls, and there's a photograph of one of them from the Hunter West District of the Western region. The Finder forecast recovery critical to address challenges facing thermal power generation. The Times, economy ready to take off. The president on a 3-day tour of the Greater Accra region talking. The IGP charges personnel to detect, prevent crime. Those are some of the papers I have with me this morning. My guest to do the talking to my extreme left is the Deputy Chief Executive of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, Eric Chum. Good morning. Look, you're doing great.
Very well.
Your Friday has started well.
Yes, especially when I'm sitting next to two
I know.
beautiful women.
I know.
It's honestly different from what I'm used to.
Okay, all
so
right.
it should be a
okay.
Mr.
Malba is not here to. All right. Eric, welcome once again.
Thank you.
And agenda activist Shima Maslan, well-known face, also here. Good morning.
Good morning.
You've been missing.
I have been, and I'm really excited to be back on the screens. Yes, definitely.
Welcome back.
Thank you very
much. And the former vice chair of the Convention People's Party, Rosalyn Imoro Ayana, is also here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hope you're doing great. I'm glad for your appearance this morning. Let's start with the Ghanaian Times this morning. On page 16, the story written by Yao Che says that President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo says the government has laid a solid foundation to expand the economy and build a prosperous Ghana. He said the recent improvement in the country's macroeconomic indicators and the introduction of a one district, one factory policy were among the pillars to support the country's economic expansion in the coming years. The president was addressing a debate of chiefs and people of Tema, Gadangme and Ashaiman at the Gbon Methodist School in the Greater Accra region. He's on a 3-day tour. President Akufo-Addo indicated the government was building the necessary infrastructure to expand the country's economy and create jobs. The improvements in the macroeconomy will make it possible to attract investments, expand the economy, and create jobs. He said there will be many opportunities for more jobs in the coming years, especially with the introduction of the one district, one factory. So far, he said the Ministry of Trade had given approval to 109 proposals ready to take off in the one district, one factory program. In addition to new factories, he said old ones will be revived. The president said other countries embarked on economic transformation and succeeded with it, and reiterated the government's commitment to all the promises made during the campaign season last year. He called for unity to achieve all this. Eric, let me begin with you. So the job issue is a big one, and the president assurance that the foundation has been made, and we're going to see the jobs very soon. How well should we take this assurance?
Well, thank you. I think that to start with, say good morning to Shamima, and then Rhoda, and then of course yourself. Then to the viewers of TV3 this morning. It's very true that going into the 2016 elections, the issue of jobs was one of the key, or if not the most important conversation, one of the issues that the elections was actually sort of fought on. And the president from day one, whilst was going around, had shown a commitment and a conviction, if you want to put it that way, to make sure that we transform our economy. And one of the major pillars was to go ahead with the one district, one factory policy, which essentially is meant to do a number of things. Now, we are predominantly an agro-based economy, and it's important that we add value to the produce that we produce, and then be able to, one, stabilize the prices, to be able to ensure that it creates opportunities along the value chain, the various linkages that comes with it. So while the president was reiterating the fact that the Ministry of Trade is well on track in terms of being able to vet, I think, close to 450 proposals, and having made a decision on 109 of them to proceed with the one district, one factory, is going to essentially create that effect at the various districts. What it does is that it also allows for a special distribution of industry in this country, whereby hitherto you find out that the industries that we have are actually concentrated in certain parts of the country. Now, it's imperative as well to not look at just the factory as a physical edifice, but the sort of things that comes with it. So you're talking about an outgrower scheme where farmers are going to be enjoying to produce more. You're talking about the need for local businesses to create avenues for transportation, storage, packaging, design, marketing. All of these things are things along the value chain that is actually going to create opportunities, especially jobs for the ordinary Ghanaian at the district level. So, I mean, if the president says that the economy is basically poised, I mean, is on track to increase the sort of potential that we have, then of course that is the truth. Apart from that, there's also a stimulus package that's actually going to companies that have the capacity to improve, however, are going through some kind of challenges, so that this stimulus package being done by the Ministry of Trade is meant to help this company so that they'll be able to revive their operations. So that this whole idea that we are building new factories but then the existing ones are basically distressed, I mean, would probably not make any sense. And then making sure that if the ones that are existing needs to be retooled, if they have issues with raw materials, for instance, they will get the requisite support for that to happen. And then the president made mention of the macroeconomic indicators. I think that it's an open secret that in terms of the indices that we came to inherit as a government, it has improved so much so that it's imperative that even the sort of confidence that the international community has in the economy has improved. So if you look at the first and second quarter of the year in terms of interest in the foreign direct investment, what the government wants to do in the area of rail, for instance, is something that needs to be commended. So all of these things are coming into play to make sure that the economy is right on track.
So you disagree with your critics who say that the stability we're seeing is artificial because, I mean, they claim you're not paying contractors, you're not paying teachers, your revenue targets have been met for 3 quarters, and they're suggesting that the kind of stability we're seeing is artificial.
Well, I mean, if it's coming from the critics, I mean, which of these critics are we talking? Are we talking about the NDC that just left power 10 months ago? If that is coming from the NDC, it has to be taken with a pinch of salt. It's just because it's obvious. I mean, the sort of crass governance that we witnessed over the last 8 years is there for everybody to see, and their own projection. There's not a single projection by the NDC in terms of the budgets that were read in the last 8 years that they were able to meet. You talk about inflation targets, you talk about deficit targets, you talk about all of these interest rates, all these targets, GDP, growth rates, they were not able to meet any one of them. So for them to probably come around and criticize, I mean, sitting on the fence, it's fine. But the truth of the matter is that the business community, the international community, our partners, are all of the view that the country is on the right track, and it's important that that support is given. You see, it's okay to...
Wrap up for me.
Yes, it's okay to have some sort of divergence in opinion in terms of direction from probably experts and all that. But when it's coming from the NDC, come on, you have
But
to...
is it not a fact the government has missed revenue for 3 quarters? Isn't it a fact?
No, but that's what I'm saying, that whilst that is, can be the case, there are other indicators that are also saying that we are moving in the right direction.
Okay.
So for me, it's not perfect, but you look at the fact that in the next couple of days, the budget for 2018 is going to be read, and that would address some of the challenges that we are facing in the first quarter and the second quarter.
I'm grateful. Rhoda, let me come to you. The president's assertion that the economy is not stable. Now, he said the jobs will come. The key ingredient here is a one district, one factory. The last time we saw the president cut sword, it was at the Comfy. We're yet to see the fruit of that. But the assurance is that this is what will create the jobs that we're all seeking for.
Good morning, Ghana. I am not sure if the economy is really ready or is taking off. We are being told that we've recorded low revenue collection. We also have this issue of springing out this senior high school project that is going through a whole lot of problems, lack of facilities, and all that. And if you look at those kinds of things, it just tells you that things are not really going well, even though we are told that the National Health Insurance Scheme is also working, because apparently government has paid the debts and all that. But we still do know that there are challenges there for people to access health. If we're looking at the agri sector, which is actually what the government or the president was speaking about when he felt that we needed something to grow out with. It was agric. And I know that planting for food is a good thing. But what is there for land tenure? The laws governing land tenure systems. Because right now, we know that we are losing massive lands to developments of other things. Estate developers are using them. People are using them for other things apart from agric. That alone is a problem for me. And then we look at finances and information. Every time that government comes out with policies governing growth, it has to do with the bigger societies, the bigger businesses. How about the ordinary people? The information out there is that there is no money. And if banks are lending at such high rates, and if people also do not have money to even spend, because the economy is tight as it is right now, you would then wonder how a government would come out and say that it's ready to pick up or to take off. In what sense?
the macro indicators, that's the argument.
See, the macro
CD
indicators
is stable, inflation is down. We're told that treasury rates are down, except that the banks are still up.
So is the CD really stable? You know, when we're talking about the international community agreeing or international community telling us that things are okay, we should ask ourselves as locals, are the local populace saying that things are okay? It might be good for the international community because, after all, we are exporting to them raw materials, cheap. But how about us, the consumers, who have to spend more? So it is us. When we, the local people, say that things are okay, then things are okay. But I will not expect for someone who is taking my cocoa for nothing, taking my gold for nothing, taking everything else for nothing, to say that things are not okay. I will expect that person to say things are okay. But what I'm saying is that what has been put in place for the ordinary Ghanaian who is looking out for that job to be able to lift him or herself up. We're talking about irrigation. We've just had the rains stopped. What have we seen? Have they cut short for any irrigation projects? We haven't seen that. We're looking at farmers who do not even have roads, feeder roads leading to the farm. We don't even have it. We haven't seen anything. We're looking at a situation where, as we sit, we don't really know which way we're going, whether it's the Greek way, or we're looking at oil money, or we're looking at what. All we keep hearing is that pay taxes. We even now, there's a campaign going on for us to pay taxes. And I'm asking, pay taxes from where? From doing what? When people are not working, people cannot even make ends meet. Right, as we sit here, suddenly you get your water bill, and your water bill is so high, and no one has informed you as to why or how that water bill is suddenly 10 times what it normally used to be. So the information flow is not coming. And this whole idea of fleecing us, you know, under the table to pay off government debts and stuff without informing us, is something that the government should know, that we are not stupid. You understand? If, for instance, I get a message on my phone telling me that you cannot get to my meter, you can't read my meter, and the next time but continue paying. That's right. What it says, continue paying, but I can't read your meter. What you're telling me is that you want my money. You understand? And for those things, those are all tricks that are being used to get revenue. So our revenue collection state is very bad, and it's all because businesses are not thriving. Now, when businesses are not thriving, how do you expect them to pay taxes? And then for you to come and tell me that the economy is going to lift up. How is it going to lift up? So let's just be honest with ourselves. SHS. We've rolled out SHS. They don't have accommodation. They don't have teachers. They don't have the logistics. You understand? Did we say that we've done well? We haven't. And then we look at NHIS. People are still struggling to get their cards renewed. You still go to the hospitals and you still have to pay for your medications. Would we say that we've done well? And then we come, even now we can say that our electricity is stable. But like I'm saying, they're fleecing us under the table. And then you look at transportation. Just recently, drivers are on the, you know, on the rise. They want to go on strike because things are not working. So where is the economy lifting? Or ready to take off? I don't know. From all that you've said, it's okay for the international community and it's okay for the big businesses. But for the ordinary person in this country, we don't see the economy moving.
I'm grateful. Shimama, let me come to you. So you sit in the midst of two contrasting views. You said, well, the economy is stable, as the president put it. The macro indicators are clear. But Rotherlin is suggesting that, well, the international community could be happy, but the taxi driver, the young man on the street there isn't seeing this economy stabilizing because for him, things are not working.
Well, I'm not even sure that the international community might necessarily be in agreement all the time with our indicators or our choices, but that's a subject matter for another day. But good morning once again, and really excited to be here. I'm sure there are many people who are wondering, oh, what's Shabima doing here, this morning? What's the agenda? Who is she representing? What's the big?
Are you ready to tell us? Is there an agenda?
I will tell you, there is an agenda,
right?
Okay, all right. And the agenda is the youth agenda and the women in media agenda. And as you rightly said, I've been off the media for quite a while, over like 5 years. I've watched a lot of television in that time. I've read a lot of reports about the condition of the African continent, and I've always been an activist. Those who know me from university, they know that I've always been an activist. So trying to get off the public scene for a while, and sitting at home and all of these things, and having a bit of time now, I'm back into that activism mode. So I've set up the Alliance for Women in Media. We want to work towards seeing an increasing representation of women in media. We want the voices, the images, and the stories of women and girls to be told in a correct way, depicting of our realities and in an empowering way. And I'm also a member of the Ghana UN Youth. We're a coalition of young people who are coming up to try and change the discourse. Because, development has to happen in our time.
Right.
Our nations have to be uplifted in our time. Other countries have proven that it is possible to do it. And that's why, just linking to, because I was just thinking about, so that's really the agenda. Right. The agenda is we can't sit back and be passive and expect things to change. We all have to add our voice. We all have to hold duty bearers to account and put them to test, because they are in a social contract with us. We say we give them power, but it's actually giving, the power is from us. Right. And we're expecting service from them. And I think the ways that we have named these things and giving people a certain indication that they are all so powerful is not working to our interest. So instead of saying that, oh, people have come into power, let's name it and change it.
People have come to serve us.
They have come into service.
Okay.
Because if you build that mindset, you would know that you're not doing anybody a favor. Indeed, you are not doing, if you're in a position of responsibility and service, you're not doing us a favor. You're actually expected to deliver on your social contract with the people. So you'll be seeing me more asking questions together with you.
Great.
So coming to this subject matter of taking off. In fact, if I were President Nana Akufo-Addo, I'll be cautious about using the word takeoff. It's one of the very popularized words that we had even in the previous administration. Under the late President Evans Atta Mills, you would recall, we had 2 budgets that seemed to repeat that we were setting the foundations for takeoff. And when I used to host then, and so many people have come across preconditions for takeoff, the indicators are now stabilized, and we are ready to really go into, an industrial growth, sustained growth.
Right.
Sustained growth, that's the indicative word. It hasn't happened because you are able to stabilize indicators, certain external factors and some toxic institutions locally affect you. The indicators come down. So we've not managed to have a sustained growth since independence. And one is minded about Rosto's, stages of development. We have still been within that traditional state because we haven't quite changed the structure of our economy. And I'm happy the president is saying this because when he was seeking to come into office, he had criticized the gadgets-big nature of our economy. And he had said severally that unless and until we change the structure of our economy, we really would not see that takeoff, even if we set the preconditions for takeoff. So what has happened? Why is it difficult for politicians to create the conditions necessary for this takeoff to happen, to deliver growth and prosperity within our lifetime? Singapore, Malaysia, even China and other countries have shown that it is possible to adopt alternative paths to development. One of the problems we have had is with our preoccupation with employing and adopting neoliberal policies towards our development agenda. Over 40 years of Ghana's relationship with the IMF, in 2000, we had to be declared HIPIC. after several years, apart from Nkrumah and Achampon, I think every other government had gone into IMF program to seek support, policy credibility. Now we are talking about policy credibility. I mean, the IMF itself is suffering its own legitimate issues right now, and they have turned themselves into a credit rating agency, you know, saying they are now a demand-driven organization. They are interested in countries adopting their own domestic internal paths to development, but they are happy to provide surveillance and, you know, policy credibility issues and technical advice. Obviously, the IMF hasn't helped us, but we can't blame the IMF alone as well, because our own toxic institutions are to be blamed. The problem is today, here and now, Africa is the poorest continent. It used to be Asia. Asia has managed to lift itself out of the doldrums, although there are still pockets of impoverished nations. Africa, the irony and the paradox of all time is that the richest continent on earth is actually the poorest continent today in terms of the incomes of its people. We have the highest concentration of extreme poor. The World Bank says we are over 670-something million poor people from the African continent. The entire, you know, the totals for all other regions combined is higher than the total of all other regions combined. It is a paradox, and it is unacceptable that in the midst of plenty, we should be this deprived and poor. So we have to put paid talk and get to action, because it takes dedicated, firm, and brave action to actually change the structure of our economy. Because the way that we have integrated into the global system is set to give us a disadvantage right from the word go. Right. And our reality has shown that these things have not worked. McKinsey Institute says that the African continent is on the rise. Africa is rising. And that in the next couple of years, Africa would be the next continent with the highest number of youth. But if you don't have any broad plan for this youth, if you're not building any core capacity for this youth, you're setting yourself up for serious problems, as we are seeing now.
So one district, one factory doesn't fall into catering for these youth? So
one district, one factory for what? This is very important, because piecemeal interventions have proven that they don't transform. Incremental gains don't transform economies. And we have to accept that so far, no matter how beautiful your policies are, how well they are thought through, to the extent that here and now you're faced with the kinds of challenges you're facing in your economy, where unemployment is at its highest, educational systems are really not producing the kinds of skills we need. India got independence in 1947. By 1950, they had started a comprehensive program to setting up their first Indian Institute of Technologies. That is the sole basis of the transformation of the Indian economy. Industrialization forward. We have seen import substitution industrialization before. At the time of independence, Nkrumah embarked on these comprehensive, policies to ensure that the foundation is set for true takeoff. Because takeoff cannot happen without industrialization. European civilization premised on their agricultural revolution. They started with food first, because if you are hungry, you are not thinking. Right. A hungry man doesn't think. So the first point of call is truly industrializing our agricultural economy. And the next linkage was industrialization and innovation. So they're producing food. They're looking for, okay, how can we ensure that we have a linked industry that provides farming implements? How can we ensure that we have a research and innovation, arm that seeks to create the engineering for mechanized agriculture and all of this? So an industry emerged feeding, so there was an industry for industrialization. Okay, so one district, one factory is leading to what big picture? This is the question I'm asking. Because if you go and cite small industries in places and they're doing small and medium scale enterprises, what are they feeding to? What bigger industrialization plan are we feeding to? What what is the big plan? Let us see it.
Wrap up for me.
Yes. Instead of walking around town and seeing billboards of how Accra will be, aspirational billboards of how Accra will be the neatest city in Africa, and how we have launched A, B, and C. Let us see aspirational pictures of where we can be. I want to be driving from Abokobi to Accra, and I'm seeing the picture of what Accra is going to be in the next 10 to 20 years. The kinds of industries we are supposed to be having, the jobs they will be creating, the environmental issues we'll be dealing with. We need to see those images because you need to inspire a certain, So are we really ready to take off in what direction?
I see.
Because we want to take off, and nobody should expect or wish failure on any government, because it will be the height of irresponsibility for any citizen at all to wish that a government fails. But we must ensure that this tokenistic piecemeal approach to development, look, 60 years of a nation, 60 years of a nation, there's no big plan. In the next 40 years, what jobs should be created? Right, let's ask ourselves. So this industrialization is supposed to build what skills in the next 40 years? Right now, India is the net exporter of outsourcing. They have created serious, what do you call it?
Let me put some of the issues that you raised to Eric, because if the economy is ready to take off, you raised the issue of President Nana Addo when he was sworn in, suggesting that the only way to get this economy back on track is to change it from what we had known in the past, a gadgets-backed economy. Now, Eric, if the president said the economy is ready to take off, like as Shimama was suggesting, does it suggest that the structure of the economy has changed or is changing?
No, but I think that the president was emphatic that the economy is ready to take off. And he mentioned one or two of the things that is going to be imperative for that to happen. Now, I just want to react to what some of the statements from Brother. This is an MPP government that has been in power for only 10 months. So if you make mention of, for instance, the National Health Insurance, the new administration has actually paid off a huge chunk of the debt that was actually owed to the service providers to start with. Right. So, I mean, that in itself is something that is worth mentioning.
But talking about the problem,
no, but that's where you start from, because those are the critical group of people who would actually provide the services. And if they haven't been paid, how can they provide services? And this government has made a commitment, has paid, has put measures in place to make sure that the issue of owing the service providers is going to be a thing of the past. So that's one step, a step in the right direction. The issue of free SHS. I mean, you see, sometimes it's important to also put into perspective who actually are the beneficiaries of this free SHS policy. You're talking about, well, there's more than 90,000 students who have had an opportunity to go to free SHS today. It might not be nirvana. It might not be the sort of facilities that you would find in a developed world. However, this gives them an opportunity to also essentially get some kind of education that would...
some kind of education? Yes, that's quite something.
No, but I mean, I'm not in a...
Education is better than
not in a negative, not in a negative right. You see, it's imperative that sometimes we tropicalize some of our issues, right? So I was brought up by a woman who was selling Obrenuwe in Cantamanto, right? And so I'm passionate about some of these things. Without getting an opportunity to go to any kind of school, I won't be sitting here today. And there are lots of people who, I call them the village lottery or the district lottery, where if you're not careful and you are giving birth to in a certain part of this country, it means that you're probably doomed. And that is what President Akufo-Addo has done, to give an opportunity for people who hitherto would not have had an opportunity for secondary school education. Parents who could not afford 40 Ghana cedis, 50 Ghana cedis, 400 Ghana cedis to take their wards to school. So whilst we are facing initial challenges in the implementation of any policy, There's absolutely no way you can tell me that a government of 10 months can be able to put all the facilities and put all the things in place for people to have access to free SHS. No.
So we could not have seen the
but
challenges.
How
we
would
could
you
have seen the challenges?
No, but that is why I'm saying, how else do you implement it? These kids have had an opportunity to go to school. Some of the issues that are the challenges that actually is bedeviling that particular sector will be dealt with as we go along. But for anybody to suggest that we should let these kids sit at home, or by virtue of the fact that they couldn't afford, they should sit at home and at the free SHS, there's absolutely no way anybody can convince me that the implementation of this free SHS is a failure. There are challenges.
No,
there are challenges even when it wasn't free.
Saying that the challenges.
No, that is what I'm saying. I went to Form 1, secondary school Form 1 in 1988 or so, right? And I can tell you that for the first year and second year, I sat under a tree.
You don't want those.
No, but that is what I'm saying.
No,
but that is what I'm saying to you, that it does not suggest that giving an opportunity to kids who, by virtue of the fact that their parents could not afford, means that it's a bad thing. Everybody who is actually part of the implementation of this policy accepts the fact that in some parts of the country, and not everywhere, in certain parts of the country, there are challenges which are going to be dealt with, which are being dealt with.
Okay, wrap up
so
for me.
For me, it's important that we situate that. Then, apart from that, in terms of Shamima's view on if are we ready and all of those things, we are ready, and there's a plan.
The economy is ready to take.
Listen, there's a 10-point plan. Industrialization and transformation plan that is being actually put in place. The president just mentioned two. Yeah, we are talking about the industrial revitalization program. That is what I initially indicated, that giving stimulus packages to businesses that are in distress. That was actually captured in the 2017 budget. And some of the businesses have been identified, and the support to them has actually started. Then there's the one district, yes.
Has this program captured the Kumasi shoe factory? Just this week we were told that it simply can't sell.
Well, I mean, I don't know the specific factories, but I know for a fact that that industrialization revitalization program is underway. Then the one district, one factory, which, I mean, we've spoken about a long time. We are talking about development of anchor, strategic anchor industries, right, which is meant to, one, deal in the areas of the pharmaceutical industries to create environment for us to be able to produce our own drugs and medicines and all of those things. That is something that establishment of industrial parks in all regions. The Ministry of Trade and Industry to facilitate the acquisition of these things to make sure that we have industrial parks in every single region of this country. Development of small scale and medium enterprises, right? So that it creates the opportunity for small-scale industries to create jobs at the local level.
One thing.
They don't sound, Eric, the key thing here is that they don't sound, Eric, these things that you have mentioned, these things that you have mentioned, I think we've heard over and over again. The pharmaceutical industry, the SMEs, is it new, and how great will it transform?
I am telling you that there is a plan. We're talking about export development program. That is where I come from, whereby we have the one district, one exportable product, which is meant to dovetail into the president's vision of the one district, one factory. So for instance, there's clear intervention in bringing back smooth Cayenne, which was a variety of pineapple that we used to grow in the past. And we stopped.
But it's been there, Eric.
No, that's just what I'm saying. That. So for you, Eric, so if you say that, well, as we speak, it's a plan, it's being implemented, and there's absolutely no reason why the president should say that the economy is ready for takeoff. That I would disagree. And what are we going to be known for? We are a country. I mean, and this issue has been made.
We should ask.
Let me just round up. Just before that, cocoa is a huge one. What is happening to cocoa?
Let me just round up. You see, even in cocoa, we are talking about between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. I think this point has been made a time in number, where we actually contribute about 70% of the total production of raw cocoa beans to the world. The cocoa or chocolate confectionery industry is 170 billion, 180 billion industry. Between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, we only make 5 billion. It's a no-brainer that we have to process and add value
so what
to the cocoa.
We have to.
Yes,
what are we doing?
That is exactly what we are doing now. If you go to the area of even cashew, for instance, right? Cashew has the potential to bring to Ghana more in excess of what cocoa actually brings us. We just need to move away from our 95,000 metric tons that we produce to about 200,000, 250,000 metric tons. And then enjoin the players in the industry to add value, to process the cashew before we export.
Okay.
That will give us more than that.
I'm grateful.
So and for instance, for cashew, there's a 10-year cashew development plan. By January next year, the president is actually going to launch the plan. You understand? So these are things that are on the table that we are doing. Okay. Now we are agri.
So what's our star project? What's our star project?
No, but the thing is that
there's no star project yet. There's no star project.
We are 60%. 60%. No, listen. So we are talking about petrochemical industry, revamping the aluminium industry, for instance, taking advantage of our bauxite. We put a smelter in place to make sure that we can actually go to downstream.
Okay, all right.
This is a
let me take some comments before I come back to Shemaima and Rodelin. All right, Eric, I'm grateful. Johnny, welcome once again. Let's take a few comments before we come back.
Conversation going on now. WhatsApp has loads of comments for us this morning. And Alassane Wana is what says, good morning to you and your viewers. It's obvious that just 11 months in government, President Akufo-Addo is able to transform and strengthen the economy by initiating a free SHS planting for food and jobs, fertilizer subsidies for farmers, and removal of nuisance taxes on spare parts. This is far better than the incompetent John Mahama and NDC 8 years in government, which only is remembered by massive corruption, SADA, IMF, and Woyome money scandals. Good morning, TV3. His Excellency President Akufo-Addo is ready to deliver within his promises by setting examples of creating more jobs for the youth, planting for food, initiative project, free SHS, and many more. We need to give him credit and time to move this country forward positively. Thomas Breku in Navrongo. And good morning, TV3. The economy of Ghana is really getting worse. We want change, not challenge, because our politicians are not ready to work. Rather, they are here to try to make mockery of other political parties. Please, MPP, leave revenge and work for us. Kwachi from Tamale. If for nothing at all, the MPP has rolled out another pro-poor policy. That is the free SHS. And for that alone, my support and that of the family will be for the MPP forever and ever. Haj Ahmed in Nima. Dr. Abedi Nkwada, so big shoes, says, I'm very happy NDC is bringing back John Mahama. It will be cool chop for NPP because they are going to throw mud at him, and NPP is waiting towards 2020 elections to bring most of ex-President Mahama's corrupt activities to light. Mark my words, NDC will stay in opposition for more than 16 years if they bring Mahama again for 2020. Hashtag Ghana is working again under President Akufo-Addo. Thank you very much. A.E. Farouk in Tamale says, good morning to you all. I found it disturbing and shameful calling hooligans or vigilantes. Are we afraid of arresting them, or the laws of this country are not working? Again, God have mercy on this clueless MPP government. Shamima Muslim, where have you been? Welcome. Azundo in Kumasi. Good morning, TV3. I want to commend Honorable Peter Amewu for the good services he's rendering for Mother Ghana. Shaibu Sisala East. Good morning, TV3. In fact, the only TV station that speaks and does serious analysis with the issues going on in the country is TV3. Sometimes I wonder whether or not the authorities actually watch and listen to TV3. Comrade Johnny, keep on doing the analysis, and I know one day you would be vindicated. Adamu Somran Aliu from Techima. I thought nurses were the only ones that had to be reassured, to be reassuring clients, but it's now being adopted by the president on a daily basis. How long can this be continued when 2 old factories have been reported to have collapsed and the president is talking about opening new ones? If you can't maintain, how do you build new ones? Prof. Shak from Northern Region. Good morning. Do you know what the Northern Region, that the Northern Region can farm and feed Ghana? What farmers only need is support with extension officers and other support from the government. If government is really serious about our agri sector, then they must be up and doing. Abdul Rashid Al Hassan from Boku. Good morning, TV3. I watch you live. The fact is that the MPP vigilante groups has recorded too many violence just less than 1 year. It's very bad for the current government. It has to be dealt with seriously to serve as a deterrent to others. Emmanuel in Adoni Krom Enchi. And when the opposition NDC raises questions about how the MPP is governing, it's the responsibility of the government now to give answers and stop calling them names. As we speak, nothing has been said about the cost of floating the energy bond. Kimola in Kwabina. Perhaps finally, Bright, you are right. The economy always takes off anytime the MPP is in power. But anytime the NDC is in power, and for that matter, the economy under their care, the NDC economic management team always manages this economy down to its bones. Rafiu in Wa. Thank you very much. Oh, it's been a long time I read something from Michael Amini in UK. Perhaps that's the last one. The 8 years governance of the Eswal Mahama NDC-led government was bizarre, calamity and disastrous and full of crisis in the political history of Ghana. That brought severe economic hardship to Ghanaians because the economic management teams headed by Vice President Mahama and Pakwesi Misatha were just incompetent. The call being made by some NDC MPs and their regional chairman for former President Mahama to lead them in the 2020 elections is infantile, and it will be in the best interest of the former President Mahama not to heed to their call. The defeat he will suffer will be worse than the 2016 elections. Ghana will succeed under the leadership of President Akufo-Addo by the grace of God. I think that Honorable Tetechai agrees with Michael Amini in the UK. All right, thank you very much.
I'm grateful, Johnny. Thanks so much. Madam Rodley, let me quickly come and beginning to wrap up the conversation with you. So, on wrapping up on the economy ready to take off, let me have your final words.
Yes, listening to Eric here, talking about the SHS. I think that if you had taken just a little bit of time, you would have
postponed it?
Not postponed it, but you know, you didn't make good use of day schools, the day secondary schools that Mahama built. If you had just taken a bit...
But all these schools were...
Okay, Eric, you allow him.
You see, what I'm trying to say, because you see, if you had taken pains to look around, you realize that at least you could have put people in certain vicinities in those day schools, instead of probably having those same people coming to sleep in verandas and stuff like that. You could have done better. That's the fact. You could have done better. And when it comes to school feeding, it's also another area, because right now we don't even have enough of local inputs, so that the people are now going to go out there and buy foreign rice. They're going to still go out there and buy foreign, even maybe okra from La Côte d'Ivoire, maybe, and stuff like that. So there is still so much there. So I understand you. When you say 10 months is too short a time for anyone to judge a government, I would also have expected that 10 months is too short a time for the government to come and tell us that there's a takeoff.
No, but I think it's ready.
Okay. Because you see, at the end of it, you're not telling
right.
Everything else is proposals.
Okay.
You understand? Everything else is proposals. Everything else is on paper. We haven't seen anything on the ground yet.
So,
okay. Sibaba, please wrap up on this for me.
Well, I think that for any young person who is watching the show and it's listening to the president, we are happy that the president in the beginning, when he, swore the oath of office, gave us indication that he's committed to delivering this country to the path of growth and prosperity. And he had also promised to harness the resources of everybody, every citizen, to ensure that that happens. Any young person listening should want to know what is the big plan, and it should be available, it should be communicated. We should have a sense of agency. We should actually feel that we are on the cusp of something great, because the president has said all the right things. Now it's time for action. And we all know this economy will not take off on the structure that we have and the global integration that we have. It will not take off if we don't learn lessons and look for alternative paths beyond these IMF, World Bank, neoliberal, prescriptions, and actually look within and adopt policies that other countries did, like China, like Singapore. If we don't look for a star project that will actually be the face of our true transformation India used ICT. What are we using? We have young people, we have energy. What skills are we building for them? What is that one thing Ghana should be known and will be known for in the next 40 years?
All right, I'm grateful. Let's quickly wrap up on this one. Daily Graphic has a story. NDC making vigilantism a major issue. Freddie Blade talking that the acting national chairman of the NPP is blaming supporters of the NDC and the media sympathizers for making vigilantism seem like a major problem in the country. He says that this country is peaceful. We have had a couple of elections and they were all peaceful. I do not think that the so-called vigilantism is a major problem we need to worry our head over, he insisted. This was an interview with Kobi Asma and Abdulaziz of the Daily Graphic. Eric, quickly, we don't have a lot of time. He thinks the issue is not a big one. We should just go and rest. It's something we can deal with easily.
Well, I think that the principle of the fact that people cannot take the law into their own hands and do whatever they want is established. That we cannot move away from that. I think that what the chairman was probably referring to was, of course, there's always the political angle to some of these things where it can be sort of enhanced in a way that make it look like all over the country these things are happening. But that is not to sort of countenance or support the actions of these groups. I think that for me, what I would actually talk about is the commitment that has been shown by the president by even setting up a committee, a task force, to actually make sure that these things are forestalled, and that the commitment coming from the Minister of Interior also imploring police authorities to say that, listen, you need to be able to, even as it were, be able to see these things happening, stop them from happening, and if it does happen, arrest those people and bring them to book. And actually, he's saying that, listen, police officers should be sanctioned for failing to bring these people to book, which shows that there's a commitment. So if you are a member of the party, or you're not a member of the party, or just an ordinary citizen of this country, you should realize that the laws of this country are meant to be basically adhered to, and you can't take the law into your own hands. If you have grievances, you have issues, there are, more civil ways of doing it, and I think that that commitment has been shown by the president. And
right.
The issue of politics and NDC and MPP and everything is always going to come, and I'm not really interested in that.
Grateful. Shimama, is vigilantism not a big issue in Ghana now?
It is a big issue. So I'm surprised that a national chairman of a political party would be saying this. You see, these are the things that do not help the president. The NPP, when they were in opposition, criticized severally that the people around President Mahama were not helping President Mahama. So the president says something and his appointees are acting differently. The president has condemned. Oh no! Well, I'm talking the chairman of a political party.
No,
I'm not. Well, you know what exactly what I was saying. That I'm not saying that he's supporting, but you don't make comments like this to water down this growing menace. It takes just a single action to trigger a nation into the path of distress and war. So words matter. And positioning matter. So people in positions of leadership and authority do not have the luxury, should not have the same luxury as a foot soldier has to say certain things or to give certain indicators that a certain situation is not worrying. What happened in that court in Kumasi is very worrying, and that is the face of vigilantism. That is what we must be worried about. The fact that people can take the law into their hand and desecrate a holy ground like a court of justice. That single action alone is what we need to condemn vigilantism in all of its forms and expressions.
Which has been done.
So when you do that, don't come back and say that somebody is creating an impression that vigilantism is a problem. It is a problem, and we need to recognize that and deal with it. The president recognizes that it is a problem. The president has condemned it. The president has enjoined the institutions mandated to ensure law and order and peace in every space of this nation to act. And that's one thing I have to say. The president, if the police people are failing to act, one policeman's head has to roll to indicate that there is commitment to see, because, you know, politics, the way people fear for their positions. And that's the way that politicians have used. They've used fear as a weapon of subdue and whatever. So they don't say it, but people, whether they're assuming it or whether they've seen other people suffer consequences for taking certain political actions. Otherwise, why do the political, you know, the colors of the security agencies sway with the change in power? You know, why, you know, crime is being committed in front of you. Look at the Adan case. And you don't round up people immediately because you are having some consideration that, oh, you don't want to escalate the situation. Yes, if you're on the ground, you have to take all of those. But if a crime is committed, you are the officer in charge to ensure that you bring peace and order. Okay. So somebody at the police service, a policeman or a police authority, has to bear a brand if they fail to ensure that these things don't, you know, are not nipped in the bud. Because the president has told them, act. You have the power to act, so act. And then party leadership. The reason why I mentioned that he's not an appointee of a party, but he's a chairman of a party whose president is in power. Whatever he says reflects on the presidency as well. You cannot dissociate the actions of a political party and how they reflect on the government of a day.
All right.
Not everything, but I'm
let
saying
me
that
quickly
authorities
digress a bit back to our earlier conversation. The member of parliament for, let me pick up some comments from member of parliament for the Odudu constituency. He's been he's been monitoring the show. He is suggesting to our producers that Eric's the 10-point issue he raised were things that had been put down by the former government. Nilante Van der Poel is on the phone. Good morning. Now, you think that what Eric said are all issues that are already known?
That we have a plan, right? And we are implementing a plan and then the ministry.
Hello, Ni.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Ni, please
Thank
go
you
ahead.
very much, Bryce.
Hello, Ni.
Yeah, Bryce, I'm hearing you.
Right.
How are you?
So
you
think that all that Eric said, the 10-point issues that he raised, were things that are already there, and so I suggest that perhaps there is nothing new from what he's saying?
Yes. And I want to take the opportunity to say good morning to your viewers and also to the panelists, especially my good sister Shamima. She's looking good. It's good she's back. Eric made some assertions, and I want to point out to him that this 10-point industrial plan that he's talking about and touting is a document that was developed during our time and when I was Deputy Minister for Trade under Honorable Aruna Idrisu. He mentioned the issue of pineapple production, for example. As a Deputy Minister, I represented my minister in launching what we call the new pineapple variety at Ekumfi, where we move from the current variety we've been producing to the sugar loaf. The sugar loaf is a new variety of pineapple that has less water and is fruity, because we saw that the international market were not buying the one we have. So this one, the second leg of the project, was when the Japanese government was going to assist Ghana government to build a factory where this pineapple will also be fried into chips and exported outside. The issue, he also brought up the issue of the pharmaceuticals. Under the NDC government, 10 million stimulus package was given to 5 different pharmaceutical companies in this country, including NS Chemist, FAC, and others, so that they will continue to produce those simple pharmaceutical products that the Ghanaian economy and the Ghanaian society needs. We also gave a stimulus package to the only, let me say, Ghanaian company that produces antiretroviral drugs. And their company was going to produce to the West African market and even to the World Health Organization for its patients. So all these things when you come to float a document as if it's a new thing, it's never been seen before, it worries people like me, because hard work has gone into. Give credit to those who have developed. They say that this is what has been developed, and this is the way we want to take it from level A to level B. And this time, I'm expecting them to be able to tell us that with this setup and with this foundation that have been laid, we want to lift the level to the staircase to another level.
Neil, let me pick your brains on this. Even what Eric suggested is a plan, and which you said were there before the new government came into office. Shemaima is suggesting that, look, these are not what will lift this country out of where we are, and that we need a star project.
I didn't hear you well.
I'm asking that these issues that you've raised, the ones Eric said are plans that are ready to take this country's economy up, and the fact that you are suggesting there were plans that were put in by the previous government, Shemaima Maslam is suggesting that indeed, even these ones are not what would take this country's economy from where it is at the moment.
Yes, I agree. Totally agree with Shemaima. But the issue is that once you have developed the plan, the next step is to be able to do what we call the integrated system that will lead to sort of industrialization you are looking for. Because you cannot just also get up and set up industry like the way they are talking about. When you set up those industries, what do they feed? What will be at the end of it all? Look, the sort of industries they are talking about, even during the revolution time we did, the Gary factories, we said that if you're traveling from Mamfi to Kofodia, you will see a lot of them. The beads factories and all those things. If those are the factories they are talking about, fine, that's one, they should let the Ghanaians know. But what if they are talking about factory? One, the market. Those factories, which market are they targeting? Right. The resources. What are the supply chain mechanisms, and what are also the demands for the products and things that they are going to, those factories are going to produce? You don't just get up and say we are going to set up one district, one factory, one factory, without having what we call the backward integrated production level, or even a forward integrated production. You cannot, because if a factory produces tomatoes, what are you going to do with the tomatoes? Do you have a factory another factory that will take over the tomato and produce it into puree? That puree, what are we going to do with it? Are we going to feed the schools, or are we going to feed the industries? Are we going to export it? All these things must be thought of, and there must be a clear indicators.
Nia, I'm grateful. Have a good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
I didn't give you the chance to comment on the vigilantism issue. Quickly do that.
But I just want to say that what Nia is saying, I think that it's lack of information and communication. If the MPP has picked up something from the NDC, you should be able to tell us. You should be able to share with everyone so that we'll know. Because I know when you started your submission, I was saying that when it came to pharmaceuticals, I knew the NDC had done something on it, and then when it comes to the pineapples, for instance, I knew also that they had worked on it. So it's just a question of you letting us know that it's a continuation, which is fantastic. If one government starts something and someone else picks it up, it's good. For industrialization, we are still looking up to all those defunct Kwame Nkrumah projects that have been left. We've been promised the ceramic factory is going to be put back. We've been promised that, well, the NDC tried with Comenda, and Comenda is also coming up slowly. And on all the other ones, like this shoe factory, for instance, I think the NDC didn't really do a lot of work. They were in a hurry to get it done, because what I heard from the manager yesterday just showed that it was one of those campaign things. So let's do things properly. Whichever government is going to industrialize this country must do it properly with all the integrated systems. But when it comes to vigilante or whatever you call it,
just 30 seconds.
I think that we should not downplay it. We shouldn't. We should actually deal with the situation seriously, because the next moment that we'll find is that they'll be marching to the Flagstaff House. Trust me. They will be marching to the Flagstaff House. If we do not deal with them now, and if the police are so scared to deal with them, then the political party will have to deal with them, because they are the people who know them.
Right. I am grateful. Rodarin Morayana is a former vice chair of the Convention People's Party. Grateful for your Friday morning. Shemima Muslim is back. Shemima Muslim, a gender activist. Al Hassan. Okay, sorry, I've missed that name for a long time. Shemima Muslim Al Hassan. Okay, and the convener for the Alliance for Women in Media. Grateful for Friday morning with us.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
And don't get missing again. Stay with us. Eric Achum is a Deputy Chief Executive of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority. You sent in your comment. We're grateful. Stay with us. There's more coming up.
Hello and welcome to a wrap of some of the major cases being heard in the various courts across the country. On Monday, November 6, 2017, the board of the Achimota Senior High School served notice it is heading to the Supreme Court seeking to overturn a ruling by the Court of Appeal that annulled an injunction they were able to secure against squatters on its lands. Achimota School secured the injunction to restrain developers from encroaching on the school's land back in 2016 after an almost 6-year legal battle with the Osu Traditional Council. The council had taken possession of the land, arguing that they were not being used for the purposes they were intended for. However, the board of the school, with the support of the school's Old Students Association, secured the injunction and declared their intention to retain their land through all lawful means. The school intends to take their case to the Apex Court in an attempt to get their concerns addressed. On Tuesday, November 7, 2017, the suspended New Patriotic Party General Secretary Kwabena A.J. Ejapon sued the Ashanti Regional Chairman of the party, Bernard Enchubuesiako, also known as Chairman Wuntumi, over alleged defamatory comments. According to the suit, Kwabena Ejapon is seeking an order compelling Bernard Enchubuesiako, also known as Chairman Wuntumi, to immediately retract the defamatory statement by the same medium used in making them. He is to also render an unqualified apology to the plaintiff Kwabena Ejapon. Kwabena Ejapon is also asking the court to compel the first defendant to pay an amount of 400,000 cedis as punitive and exemplary damages to the plaintiff. The comments were made through Insure FM, a subsidiary of the multimedia group, which is being sued as the second defendant. Still on Tuesday, November 7, National Vice Chairman of the NDC, Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo, sued the Eastern Regional Chairman of the party and 6 others over accusations that he leaked the Dr. Kwesi Botche report. The libel suit named the Eastern Regional Chairman of the NDC, Bismarck Tewia Boatin, the Daily Guide newspaper and its publisher, Western Publications, Fortune Alimi, the editor of the newspaper, William Yawusu, a reporter of the newspaper, an Accra-based radio station OKFM, and a presenter at the station, Kwame Nkrumah, as defendants. Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo is seeking, among others, an order for the defendants to pay him damages of 10 million cedis. He further wants the court to order the defendant to pay him general damages for libel and cost, including attorney fees. He is seeking a perpetual injunction restraining the defendant, their agent or assigns from further publishing or causing to be published the words or similar words that are defamatory against him. On Wednesday, November 8, the Court of Appeal dismissed an application for a stay of execution by the Attorney General in a case where the residence and work permit of an Indian businessman, Ashok Kumar Sivram, is under contention. This is the 4th time the state has lost in its quest to have the businessman Ashok Kumar Sivram deported. Wednesday's ruling followed a new application filed by the Attorney General, represented by State Attorney Jasmine Ama, after it withdrew a similar one last week without any reason. The Court of Appeal, made of 3 justices, dismissed the application, saying the argument by the Attorney General lacked merit. The state has been seeking a stay of execution after it was ordered by the High Court to within 7 days restore the work and residence permit of the Indian businessman. The court on July 31, 2017 quashed the deportation of the Indian businessman Ashok Sivram by the Interior Minister Ambrose Derry. According to the court, the Interior Minister exceeded his jurisdiction by determining fraud against the Indian businessman without recourse to the court. Following the directive of the Chief Justice that magistrates and judges should begin the wearing of wigs, we visited some courts
and can say that magistrates and judges who hitherto did not wear these wigs have complied with the directive.
The court will, however, be quite busy next week. Here are some of the cases to expect.
There, so you got a glimpse of what happened in the court this week and certainly what to expect next week. But we're talking about St. Thomas Aquinas because they are going to be celebrating their homecoming next week, and they're here to talk to us about what their influence on the school has been so far. I have Reverend Father Benjamin Opoku Ohene. He's an OT 1988 and he is the assistant headmaster of the school. Also Mr. John Amuzu, he's an Old Tom of the year group 1973 and he's also vice president of the Old Boys Association. Good morning, Old Toms.
Good morning.
How are we doing?
Oh, we are doing fine.
We thank God.
Yeah.
But how is the school doing? I mean, Old Toms, you've left, but you're coming back. What are you coming to do for those who are there currently, and what do you plan to do in the activities to commemorate your homecoming?
Yeah, well, homecoming, we want to come back to the school.
Right.
We are organizing this to make sure that those who, for quite some time, since they left the school, have not stepped back there. So there's opportunity for them to come and see the situation at the school, the conditions, and then that will motivate them when we ask them to help in the development of the school.
Right.
So that is exactly the main purpose. They're bringing them together and then interacting with the students, because when the students also see us, then they are motivated.
Right.
They see people coming in whatever spheres of life. So it's a motivation for them. And then the first day of the homecoming, we start with the interaction with the students. That will be a counseling session where we talk to them, especially the second and third year students, for them to know what is in the outside world as they prepare to go to tertiary institutions. We tell them what the combination of subjects and what is expected of them. Yes.
Well, Reverend Father, you can tell me, because you are on the ground, how would you say the impact of the Old Boys Association has been for the school over the years since you left up until now?
In actual fact, I've left, but I'm still inside the school because I'm still in school administration.
Right.
I would say that the impact of the old students on the school has been quite encouraging, but there's more room for improvement, as we say. We always want more because the school is bedeviled with so many challenges, infrastructural challenges, and some other, things that we need to pick up to make the school become what it should be. Right. In actual fact, the challenge in the school at the moment is the fact that the numbers keep on increasing. We are hitting almost 2,000 Aquinas, but we haven't seen much infrastructure development to match with the increasing number of students.
Right.
So it's making life in the school a little bit unbearable.
Right.
Yeah, because of the challenging numbers and the structure still remaining the same. So when the old students come, it will offer them the opportunity to see the structures that once upon a time they themselves benefited from, and seeing how today the structure, for example, classroom size has become so, the classrooms still small and the numbers increasing. For instance, if you take the present Form 1s, one class,
the free SHS batch.
Free SHS especially, we have 70 in a class anticipated for 45. 70 and some 70 plus.
Right.
So there's a clarion call for more infrastructure development. So when those students come, they see things for themselves, I'm sure they'll be able to advise themselves and come out to something more concrete and tangible for the school.
Right. But over the years, when the children, how does this homecoming impact the academic life of children in the school? Because certainly, like you said, when you come, they get experience to see people who have gone out of school and become better people for themselves. But when you leave, what does it hold for them as students?
Well, for us, we think that it's over the years, there has been an improvement in the performance of the school.
Okay.
The school can be classified as one of the top schools in the whole country, at least. Over the past year, 10 years, we've been within the 20th, the best 20 schools in Ghana, considering the fact that Aquinas is a day school.
Okay.
Yes, that is our motivation. That is even why we are happy, because sometimes people say they want to convert the school into a boarding school, and some of us, we think that no, it is.
Shouldn't be.
Yeah, we should maintain it that way, because some of us have, it develops some discipline in you, because as a day student, you have to wake up and come to school by 8 o'clock. So it's a sort of discipline. So some of us, there have been that debate whether we should make it a boarding school or a day school. But the mission of the school, those who set up the school, that was the idea that those who are staying just around this area, the cantonments, and then its vicinities,
will be able to come.
Yeah.
Right. But the mandate has moved, because now people then travel further distances to make it to school. So really, are you going to consider changing it from a day school to a boarding school at some point in time?
For now, we cannot make a concrete comment for now. But if you look at the situation today, our major challenge is lateness to school.
Okay.
We are fighting lateness. You know, one day one student told me, a Form 1 boy, Reverend Father, it's not my fault.
That's traffic.
I wake up very early. I sit in the trotro, it's not getting full. And when I leave trotro, the traffic, I cannot get down and walk and come to school. It's far. Reverend Father, it's not my fault. But we keep on encouraging them. The traffic situation in Accra is so terrible.
Yeah.
But with some little effort, as Mr. Muzu is saying, if they are disciplined, they should be able to make the best use of their time. But the lateness is a canker.
So will old boys buy a bus for them then, to try and
Old
deal
boys?
with this? You are an older boy, so old boys, your team, can you look at that?
Well,
to help
we
the
can
children?
look at it. We can look at it. We are not certain. When the homecoming will determine the priorities. Yes,
certainly. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us here, Old Toms. We wish you all the best with your homecoming. So it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or just one day?
Friday, Saturday, 17th and 18th.
To the 9th, okay, to 18th. So that's Old Toms for you. I hope you join them when they celebrate their homecoming. If you're an Old Tom, certainly you'll be there on 17th and 18th. We'll have more here on New Day. GMB Queens will be joining us. The final four will be here with us. So stay with us here on New Day.
And on that very exciting note, the ladies you've been waiting for since 6 a.m., they're here. The 4 finalists for GMB 2017, the Western Region's Nana, the Central Region's Baba, the Northern Region's Zainab, and the Eastern Region's Sawa. They're all here. Ladies, welcome.
Thank you.
And how are you doing?
We're good.
How are we preparing for the finals, Zainab?
We're just preparing, just rehearsing here and there, trying to bring out the best in us. So far, so good.
So far, so good for you. Baba, how's it been?
It's been good. It's been good.
Are you enjoying the fame already? You've been out there two or three festivals.
So I haven't really seen it.
Oh, but you went for the Onga thing. You went for 2 festivals. How's the reaction like for you?
It was a bit different, because it looks like now you are the center of attraction, sort of. Everybody's looking at you. It's a bit unusual. Like, it's very new to us. Yeah.
Now, does it mount pressure on you? The newfound fame and everything else?
A little.
A little?
Yes.
Where a little means what? On a scale of 0 to 100? What percentage would you assign to that?
Like 85.
85 is a little. I see. So tell me, what has been your experience?
It's been okay. It's just a mixture. Sometimes it's fun. It's tedious.
Okay.
You get tense. Sometimes the comments, it makes you. Sometimes you get broken down and the chaperone has to help spice you up again. But it's so far, so good.
So far, so good. So the finals is on the 19th of November. Are we ready? Are we ready?
Yes, we are getting ready.
You are getting ready?
Yes.
You are not ready?
We are getting ready.
You are getting ready?
Yes.
Are you speaking for everybody or for yourself?
Okay, I'm speaking for myself.
Okay, you are getting ready.
I am getting ready.
Okay.
I'm not there yet.
I see. What should we come expecting on that day? Conference Center. When we come and see Nana from the Western region.
Compilation of everything. All the eloquence, the performances. I'm just bringing my A game on.
Okay.
So they should expect all of me. All of me.
All of you,
yes.
John Legend.
Yes.
Interesting. So I'm told that usually when people win the crown, they ditch their boyfriends. Are you girls dating? Are you dating, Zena?
I'm not dating.
You are
and
not.
I'm not searching.
Okay. Are you?
No, I'm single.
Okay. Yes.
I'm single.
You are single, and you're?
Very single.
Okay. I have a footage I should like Coco to play. I put together photographs of their boyfriends. I'd like Coco. You want to change your answers? Do you want to change your answers now?
No.
You don't want to change your answers? You want to maintain your answers? Okay. We'll toss that video in for you shortly. But week on week, judges have hit hard at you sometimes. They have been soft on you. The crowd say comparable to former GMB queens. You need to work on your quality a bit. What do you say to that? Start with you, Sarah.
Yes, I think so. But there has been massive improvement since we started. We are building more on it. And the finals will nail it all. It's going to be great.
Baba?
Yeah, I would say same. When we started, it was a bit hitchy. But I think along the line, we picked up. And then so far so good. Finals, just relax and then watch what we have for everyone.
Were you expecting to get to this stage, Nana?
No.
Not at all?
No.
But you've been star performer for how many weeks now?
3.
3?
Up, yeah.
Consistently?
It wasn't consistent. Okay. I had 2 in a row, then the next week after.
What changed?
I changed.
I
listened. Yes.
You listened.
I listened to the judges and I decided to be serious. I was playing too much.
You were playing?
Yes.
Okay. But you saw the car and then it changed your... Zainab, I'm told that you've been consistent, over the weeks. You've maintained a certain level. What motivates you? What pushes you to do that?
It's God and my chaperone and the producers who are ready to bring out the best in us. Because when I'm doing something, I try to put in my best and give out the best I have. So.
Of all the 12 weeks we've had, which would you say is your best of all the 12 weeks, Sarah? Which was your best?
My best is in how I enjoy the show, the performance.
Yes. Put together, everything.
I think the talent.
The talent night was your best. Baba?
And the week for the media and religion, where we had presenters.
I see. That was
my...
You have a thing for radio?
Sort of, but I haven't tried yet.
Okay, you should try. I mean, we have 4 radio stations, so anything is possible. How about you? Which was your best?
My best, the week we did the marriages.
Okay.
Yes.
You want to marry very soon?
I will get there.
You'll get there?
Yes.
Okay, but that was your best?
Yes.
Did it feel like your own wedding?
No.
It didn't feel like your own wedding?
No.
Zainab, which was your best?
The week we celebrated the festivals.
Ah, okay, the fire girl. So, every one of you here at some point have been put up for eviction before. When you were on the stage at that time when the judges were saving and relieving people, did you ever feel that it was time for you to go home, Zainab?
Yeah, there was a time I felt that today I'm going home because I felt I didn't do well with my presentation. So I was like, today, dear, I'm going home. Hey! Then I started praying.
Were you praying in tongues?
No, I started praying in words in Arabic.
Okay.
Hey, so when then there was even the first they mentioned my name to go back.
To go back. You were shocked.
I was shocked.
I see.
So it's just by the grace of God.
By the grace of God. Nana?
Yeah, the second eviction.
Okay.
Yeah, I felt I was going home because...
That was when Ya and Talata went, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I thought I was going home.
Okay.
Like, everything was packed. I'm like, okay, so that's the end of the road for me, guys. I'm like, wishing you all the best. And then everything changed. I was surprised.
That was when you got serious with yourself?
That was the day I went. Was that the day I went to
Starlocon?
Yes.
Right.
I was surprised. I was like, okay.
I see. Baba.
I think the day I felt I was actually out of the competition was the festival week where I missed my lines, not once, like
consistently.
It was consistent.
Right.
Yes, I felt, hey, that was the end for the for me on the show.
Okay.
But I don't know what happened. I think I'm just grateful to God.
You are just grateful.
Yeah,
So,
just by grace.
Yes, I've had bad days, but I mean, I was just hopeful.
Yes,
I didn't
throughout
really,
you were hopeful.
Throughout I was hopeful.
Okay, let me ask a trick question. Of all the 6 contestants that have gone home, you were sisters. Who do you miss? If I gave you an option, who do you miss? If you had a chance to bring somebody back, who would you bring?
2.
Okay, you want 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Numbu and Adam.
Why?
Because they are my favorites.
They are your favorites?
Yes.
You do concert together?
Yes.
Okay. Nana?
Talata and Ya.
Talata and Ya. Yes. Okay, the 2 who went home together. Okay, Baba.
Talata and Edem.
Talata and Edem.
Yes.
Oh, girl. and you?
Ya and Talata.
Ya and Talata. So I see Talata is a striking in there. Okay, so were you expecting to see Talata at the final?
Honestly, I was.
Yes.
You were?
I was.
Were you?
Yes.
Were you? Were you? You are hopeful. And on that hopeful note, thank you very much. So the show is happening on the 19th of November at the Accra International Conference Center. Tickets are selling hot and fast out there. Come to TV3, grab a copy for yourself and for those near and dear to you. 50 Ghana cedis only. Grab a seat, kick up your feet, enjoy the performances from the ladies. Remember that you have 40% of the opportunity to determine who wears the crown, who gets to travel out of Ghana to Dubai, Ketsi, Kenya Airways, and Sadhguru. They drive the sleek, fresh 4x4 Kia Sportage provided by Rata Motors, plus all the goodies that come along with it. You can't miss it for any and everything. But thank you, ladies, for coming. I'm grateful. We'll dance before you go, but fraternal messages to our friends at St. Thomas Aquinas and said, if you're about my age, you remember Reverend Father Bacha, you remember Homeboy, who was a music master at the time, Simon Akins, Halifax Ansado, Right Reverend Daniel Toto, also who are right here at TV3, Abraham Asari, Steve Isel as well, Gabriel Newtu Ankra, Daniel Mante, Isaac Adefio, and Joseph Obing J. Craig. Happy 60th to all of you. And we're going back to cantonments. Some of us are not invited, but we'll gate crash. We know anyway. So we'll dance. This is your song. Let's rise. Let's rise and we'll do the dance.
I'll be a gentleman everywhere we go. Sissy, I don't feel you, me feel you too. Miami will catch him in Jimmy. I'll be a gentleman.